William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I welcome you to another Two Hats special community events. Let's look in and see what's really happening.
Okay, Siobhan says we need to start the meeting. So this is our monthly Metro Dallas Homeless Alliance Homeless Forum meeting. And since we have some special guests in here, I want to make sure that they understand what the purpose of this meeting is. I need to get back a little bit. It's designed for our clients, our homeless service clients who need the services to interact with service providers and Metro Dallas Homeless Alliance. So this is a grassroots organization. So we think from the bottom up, not the top down. So having said that, I'll move on to the next thing on our agenda. I want to ask everybody who comes in, please sign in so we can know who you are. What we're going to do, we're going to put you on our email list so that you can get any correspondence that we might need to get to you a little more quickly than once a month. Okay? My first announcement, my name's Leon Holman. I'm co-chair along with Ricky Red of this forum. And what we're going to do now, we're going to introduce ourselves. That's Ricky. He can introduce himself, but my mouth can say his name also. And we're going to start with this gentleman right here, who we saw on the television. First of all, we're going to give this gentleman here a hand because he was on all over TV. He was all the way up, and he was. Can you tell us a little bit your name and what you did on TV?
Charles Piano with the Student by Heart program, and the director of the library was doing a feature on how the library is helping homeless people and have changed their attitudes on helping homeless people. And so I was part of that interview on Channel 8.
It was on Channel 8?
Yeah.
And it was when?
It was last Monday.
Last Monday. I don't know whether y'all saw it, but I happened to see it, and it was a great piece. And it was really positive, and he did a great job on that. So next we're going to move on down.
Hang on, let me talk a second about Charles.
Oh, okay.
About this piano, if you would. A lot of you guys don't know piano, but he started coming to this forum maybe like 2 years ago now, and it was through this forum that we actually helped to get him housed. You know, you want to talk about it, or you want me to talk about it? Because I'm going to talk about it. He was actually part of our Tent City initiative. Was it 2015 or 2015? He was staying in a taking camp, and he kept coming to these meetings, and I started working with them on getting his critical documents, like his ID and Social Security card and all that stuff. And so once we were able to get everything he needed, you know, we applied for housing. And so at that point, you know, he moved into housing. And now, how long have you been housed?
2 years.
2 years.
Y'all rescued me from Kansas City.
So just by coming to this forum, he was able to make the connections that he needed in order to move into housing. So this is a really important forum, you know, that if you are experiencing housing and you're ready to be housed, it should continue to come.
Yeah, that's what happened to me also. I got my housing through this forum. I wasn't in Tent City, but I was in Austin Street Shelter. I want to make one quick announcement. What we're doing, we're trying to figure out how to get Facebook Live going. So if anyone has a issue with being seen on Facebook Live, can you let me know so you can move, so I can move the camera to another direction? Because what we're doing, we're trying to make this available to people who can't come in, because I can get it on my phone. Okay, so I just want to let you know that. So this is a practice run, but the cameras are working. So, all right, having said that, I think we were right here with you.
My special guest just came through. James Dunn.
I haven't been to one of these meetings in a while, and Robert told me this morning, so I'm here, going to listen more than I speak, but I'd like to know what's going on right now.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Now, are we on you yet? Did you introduce yourself?
Good morning, my name is Constance Willis. I'm the residential coordinator at the Hillcrest House for Human Services of Dallas.
Okay. Next.
Robert Checkerell, looking for speakers to come to the partnership on homelessness and the Citizens Council a week from Friday. These speakers who talk about homelessness, they don't want to let you speak. You need to help them.
Was that the gentleman that was here last
You
meeting?
didn't show up.
What's that?
You didn't show up.
I, got confused. We need to put that on. Let me ask, hold on a second. Siobhan, that meeting that he's talking about, can we get an email to that so I can, because I got about 7, 8, 9 different organizations I'm in.
Okay.
And when is the next one, Robert?
April 15th of December, 3 o'clock in the city council, the briefing room.
Okay.
Done.
Okay, because, like I said, I got about 6 or 7 different things I'm doing. Can I go to you, sir? Your name? Mhm.
Oh, my name's Keith Scott.
And you are
I'm
a,
a resident of Ruth.
okay, all right. And let's go to the next table. Siobhan,
I'm Siobhan Moore with Metro Dallas Homeless Alliance.
And Rebecca Cox, same, Metro Dallas Homeless Alliance.
And I'm Alvin Dorsey, I work for the Bridge Homeless Recovery.
I'm Pamela Bowman, I'm with Reach Dallas Housing Information.
I guess we'll go back to this gentleman.
Sonny Vaughn, I'm a recovery support specialist at South Harbor.
Okay,
I'm John, I'm from South Harbor.
okay,
Ken Mo, I'm with Metro.
okay.
Cindy Crane, Metro Dallas Homeless Alliance.
Oh, I'm also a board member for NBHA.
Okay. All right, I guess we're, Callie.
My name is Callie Cohen, I am with the Hampton Community Network, and we do civil rights.
Jeff Miller, Trevor Harris, with the Peace Council Home-Based Housing Program.
Oh, can you give us a little more, some information on what your agency does? I'm not really familiar with.
Okay, the Legacy Counseling offers, just that counseling services, individuals, AODA, mental health. We serve a target population, specifically clients who are diagnosed with HIV/AIDS. And then for the housing program, we work with those clients who are also the placement for pregnancy.
Okay. And, I'm sorry,
Sorry, so go ahead.
are you through?
Yes.
Okay. And the back row.
You have copies of this?
And sir, who are you? Okay, you okay. And ma'am? Okay. Okay. And the lady next to you, I guess she's can't hear because she's got her earphones on. Okay. All right, now I want to talk about Operation Care. I'm going to pass this around. It's on the 16th, which is the Saturday before Christmas. They have they have 18,000 homeless people there. I don't know if y'all familiar with that or not, but I happened to see Susie at my church, and she asked me to do a little speaking because I told her I used to get stuff from her when I was still in shelter, and she does a great job. She gives food, clothing, supportive services. If you want to get home, some things she's got that's new. If you want to get home and you call your relative or your person that's in your hometown and they say, yeah, he can come stay with me, Susie and them will provide transportation funds to get you to where you're going. And so that's a great program she started. They also work with the veterans. Instead of having stand down, they used to have a stand down separate from other functions. Now the veterans, the VA has their stand down in conjunction with her on the 16th at K. Bailey.
You talking about the little,
Yes,
Korean-
Susan. She's
Yeah,
Filipino.
She does Filipino, yeah, she does all kinds of good work. She goes
Right.
overseas.
Right.
And helps people that got a whole lot less than we do.
Right,
She's all over the world.
right. She goes all over the world, and she is an outstanding person. So if you want to go, you can volunteer, or you can go as a client. If you go as a client, I would suggest you get there early, meaning like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, unless you have something else to do. Because in my experience, it's going to be 16,000 people there. So if you get in closer to the front, you get better options. Okay. Now, I brought these sheets that Siobhan gave us. Anybody that's interested in getting the agency, you remember the sheet you gave us with the agencies on it? I kept one. I keep printing them out and I give them out. So anyone who's interested in the agencies that provide housing for homeless people, I got these sheets up here. Okay. Okay, we got Claire, and Claire gave me something about DART, so I'm gonna let Claire talk for a minute.
I pass one out to everyone. We want as many people as we can get at the board meetings for DART because they want to raise the prices. And I understand that prices have to be raised on a lot of things. And actually, the money that we pay for the fares doesn't really cover everything. But what they want to cut is things that are for the poorest people and the homeless, which is what I object to, which is why I'm going to be at the board meeting with all these other people protesting. We have 3 city council members on our side, and I think that they can find other things to cut. Like, for instance, all the agencies get DART passes at a very, very reduced price, and they hand them out all year, you know, for the social service things. But at the end of the year, there's a lot of them left over. So I think they could maybe cut the prices that they're charging to those people, you know, charge them more money and not cut the prices for the poorest people. And also employers, you know, they can buy their tickets for the people that work for them, and they get them. I know because I worked at Adams Mart Security, you know, before I was disabled. I got a free yearly pass. It's 2 weeks after I started. And, you know, Adams Mart Hotel, which is now the Sheraton, they could maybe pay a little bit more every year for their passes and not take it away from the homeless and the poorest people. So, that's what I think. And I hope that we get some more support over there because when you read this, you will see what they're cutting, and they want to cut all the reduced fares for the school kids and the college passes, which a lot of people couldn't even be in college if they didn't have a pass that they get when they sign up. So.
You find about the reduced bus pass for homeless at the end of the month? What do with it?
The what?
That's
No, she didn't find that out.
Siobhan will talk with that. Yeah, I want to urge everybody to try and help with the support that she's talking about at the DART meeting. What happens is the people who are in favor of increasing the rates, they show up in numbers. And the people who oppose don't show up. And so what happens is the wheel with the squeaky wheel gets the most grease. Is that the expression that they use? So,
You know, I'm James Dunn with Dignity Homeless. One of the things that is...
can I stop you for a second? What is Dignity Homeless?
James Dunn Dignity Homeless. It's an organization to help people get housing like almost everybody else's organization.
Okay.
But one of the most important things that we, as people who are supposedly concerned about homelessness in Dallas, ignore is the absolutely overwhelming elephant in the room that 70% of the homeless in Dallas happen to be African American. And this city has an absolutely shameful record on African American anything.
Okay.
And when you look at the southern sector of Dallas, where the jobs are needed, and where DART has the poorest service, those are the people who need to get to the job. If we don't continuously, loudly call attention to the fact that this is one of the most systematically bigoted cities in the United States of America, by design and not by accident, we won't solve the DART problem, and we won't solve much of the homeless problem. Now, unless we say it, 70% of the people in Dallas, the homeless people are African American. Look at these numbers. 87% of the apartment buildings in Dallas do not take Section 8. And 87% of the people in Dallas who use Section 8 happen to be African American.
Okay, so that's
Interesting numbers, huh? And our city is doing nothing. There are 2 federal laws that says we could make these apartment complexes Section 8. And our city does nothing with those. Okay? And when we sit back and we ignore that absolutely overwhelming elephant in the room, we're absolutely doing nothing. And we're spinning our wheels. That's right. We can have candlelight vigils. We can have marches. And you know who's there? People who echo what you feel. You need to take this you need to take this to the people who matter. And that's going to happen in April. I can't say much about it. But, I mean, we have meeting after meeting, candlelight vigil after candlelight vigil. We're going to support Claire, and nobody's going to hear it. It's just like the Republicans' tax bill last week that 75% of the Americans opposed, but they passed it. So we need more action, more leadership, and what we need to do is say what the actual problem is. It's African Americans, period.
Okay. Go ahead, Claire.
Well, I just want to say one thing about this. I try to be up on anything that's affecting the poor, the homeless people, or the seniors in Dallas, but I actually didn't know about this. I didn't see it anywhere until I was in art class last week, and Charles Piano gave me one. So I went to Office Max and copied hundreds of them, and I've been passing them out for a week and a half. So thank you to Charles Piano here. But the thing is, first, the day that he gave me one in art class, I went to the DART, and I asked them about this. Nobody knew where I was buying my DART pass for the month. They didn't know. They said, go to the back where the service desk is, and they'll help you. So I go back there, 3 people working back there, nobody knew. So then I went to the door where the board members are supposed to be. Nobody knew. They said, we don't know what you're talking about. I said, I didn't tell them that I had one. I didn't show it to them. I just wanted to see if they were like advertising it for people. Of course they weren't. So, but anyway, I went and copied them when I took them back and gave them to them. So hopefully they're passing them out at the DART station, but I doubt it. Thank you, Charles.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's one more issue. I was told by one of the DART supervisors that they're going to take the cash boxes out. So
When you say cash boxes, what does that
You're not going to
mean?
be able to buy a bus ticket from a DART bus driver with cash anymore. So that the only way you're going to be able to buy a bus ticket is either with the Go Pass on your smartphone or some type of debit card or credit card, Visa card. And that's what those scanners are for that they've been setting up. And so, and they started setting those things up like a year and a half ago, and I was told by people that it was going to be September of this year that they were going to start using them. Well, September's come and gone, and so, you know, there's a lot going on in DART that I don't think none of us really know about.
Yeah, we need to.
Closed doors, and so.
Yeah.
But that, if you think about it, how is that going to affect not just poor people and homeless people, but even the bus drivers? How are they going to explain to somebody that unless we can take the $2 no more?
Right.
It don't work that way no more.
Right, that's not,
And so,
no,
you know,
that's not good policy.
I don't know what the solution is, but, and I know Siobhan is gonna talk about some things here, so maybe she'll enlighten us here.
Go ahead.
Are we aware of the fact that the people making these decisions don't ride the bus?
That's a good point. The people that make those decisions don't ride the bus,
So they don't care.
so they don't care. They make decisions based on their own economic
Gary
end
Thomas does.
results.
The CEO, he rides the train into his office here on Anchor Station every day.
He rides the train.
He's, yeah, the president and CEO.
I'm saying, does he ride the bus?
Oh, I don't
You
know.
probably don't
Doesn't say,
know.
though.
He
I
probably
don't-
drives to a train station
Probably.
and then gets on the train. Yeah. Yes, but I want to echo Claire's sentiment and the gentleman's sentiments over there. These issues, we have to directly deal with these issues, whether it's a race issue or whether it's a class issue. We have to deal with these issues, and we can't sugarcoat them and sidestep them and think that they're going to get dealt with. Because as he's saying, the people that are making these policies do not use the services for the most part. So we, the people who are directly on the grassroots, as I've stated before, we have to be more active, we have to be more vigilant, and we have to make sure that we come to these meetings in numbers. I remember one time I went in front of the city council to talk about an issue, trying to get some economic development in the South End, and when I went to the meeting the night before, it was 30, 40 people came up and they said, what do you have to do? I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there. When Wednesday came up, I was the only one there. So the council's going to look at me and they're going to say, okay, great speech, but we're going to do what we want to do anyway because you're just one person. So if we want these changes, we're going to have to pray with our feet, as the pastor said. We're going to have to enact something. Okay, so moving forward, Siobhan, are you ready now? Or you want me to keep going? Or? Yeah.
All right, so I'm looking at this that was just handed to me, and I just emailed the lady who I meet with at DART to see if she can come to the meeting next month to talk about this. I know next month may be too late since the meeting is December 12th, but I didn't know, so I emailed her to see if she can come and speak with us next month. But one of the things that I am noticing on here, it says that a $40 monthly pass will cost $96. I'm going to clarify that. I don't think that that's correct. I think $96 is what it's increasing from $80. So let me clarify that. If that's the case, then the monthly pass for us would be $48. So there is an $8 increase. But anywho, so we will see if we can, just one second, if we can get her to come and chat with us next month about some of the changes that DART is making. Like Ricky said, you will no longer be able to buy a pass with cash. You will have to either use that GoPass app or get some money loaded on a prepaid DART type card. I think that's going to roll out later next year, but it's not going to be January, February, March. So we'll have someone come and talk about that and explain to us how exactly that's going to work for our community. Yes.
So why isn't that $48 pass with that $96? Why is the $96 pass going to be the next thing to be done? But why isn't the reduced bus pass forgotten altogether from 40 to 48?
What do you mean?
Well, it's going to be 80 to 96 for certain.
Correct.
But we don't know January 1st if that reduced bus pass can go from 40 to 48. And also, we need to find out at the end of the month, the reduced bus pass for homeless is going to be expired.
Okay.
So what
Okay.
happened to that?
So let me go back a second. What I do know is that any fare enforcement changes have not been approved. So these dollar amounts actually have not even been approved yet by the board. They can't do another fare increase until August of next year, which is why they are having these conversations. Now, so if it did increase, it could potentially increase August of 2018.
So at the end of this month, though, what happens to the homeless?
Okay, all right,
There?
all right. So,
I mean, that's
Well, there's still a lot of questions that need to be answered. The way the things are set up now, you can buy a midday pass for $1.75. Is that going to remain, or is it going to be done away? There's also the 2-hour pass.
Okay.
That's
Right.
$1.25 for reduced and $2.50 for. Is that going to continue, or is that going to be done away? And there's one other thing. I've been told that by some that they're thinking about splitting the passes from morning to evening, so that when you buy a pass in the morning, it won't be good in the afternoon, and then if you buy that, you'll have to buy another pass in the afternoon. I've been told that they are considering.
All right, so let me, hang on one second, I got a lot of questions. Okay, so I don't work for DART, I work for Cindy Crane. But what I have heard from, none of these decisions have been finalized, let me say that. Nothing has been finalized. But what I have been informed of, as of right now, you will not be able to buy the pass with cash anymore again. You will get a card with a barcode on the back that you will swipe. That pass, when you get off the bus, depending upon how far you went, that's how much you will be charged. So if you prepaid, say for instance for a $6, if it increases to $6, if you prepaid for a $6 day pass, but you only went 2 stops up, then you would only be charged maybe $1. I'm not saying that's the exact amount because that hasn't been finalized, but you wouldn't be charged the full $6 value because you only went a couple of stops and you didn't use it, you know, for the full day. Now, if once you say you just went up the way to Walmart and you got off at Walmart, got your groceries, got back on, then you would be charged, you know, again to go back home. But it will not go above $6. So if you rode all day long, you may potentially be paying the $6. Okay? All right. So it'll be a sliding fee on how far you went, how much you used it for that day.
May I make a suggestion that we all, those interested in definitive answers, go to the DART's board meeting because it's open to the public and we will get the definitive answers.
Correct.
From the horse's mouth.
I mean, I'm just saying, I'm talking about this. This expires at the end of the month.
Okay, so
Whatever you're talking
What he's saying, he just answered your question.
So I do have information on that because that is a program that we initiated here in this forum. Let me talk to you. You won't let me answer any questions. So with our program, our pilot that we've had this entire year, if you currently have a reduced DART ID, that will expire on December 31st. However, on January 1st, you can go down and purchase another pass because we have been extended through June 30th. Because you asked me 8 questions. So it has been extended through June 30th. We will still be able to take advantage of those of the discounts, which is the 50% for a day pass, so $2.50. If you want to get a monthly pass, $40, not $96. If you are enrolled in the program currently, you do need to have your case manager resubmit your name to me so that I can resubmit it to DART, preferably before the 1st of January, so that there isn't a break.
Can you send a email
To the COC?
already done to the COC
Yeah.
so that we can proactively go
Okay.
to it?
Yep.
Siobhan, what did you say the DART passes, the reduced DART passes are going to be extended to June what?
30th.
Thank you.
And that's because of we don't know what the decisions are going to be made based on this. So after this has been decided upon, we will revisit with DART and see how, you know, what type of discounts they're going to give us. And again, we are going to have 200 slots through June 30th that we can fill. So we're still doing good. 1 second, Claire. We currently have 187 people who have bought the pass. And but the list is full to 200, and so people still have an additional 7 days to purchase the pass. So if you have not purchased your reduced DART ID, you have until December 15th to make that purchase. Yes, ma'am.
One thing, you know, we had the mayor's homeless committee researching all kinds of stuff about homelessness and giving us ideas about how we can change things. And one of the things that was in the final report was look at what other cities are doing. And then they had it broken down into the other cities and what they've been doing for the last 7-10 years about homelessness. And some of those things, as Siobhan will tell you, are wonderful. I've been traveling, not because I wanted to, but 6 times since April back to Chicago and or New York because of 2 deaths in my family. In both of those cities and in multiple other cities, they have free bus passes as long as you're a resident of that state for seniors. They have free bus passes for homeless people. You just have to go downtown, fill out an application, and you get it. And the other thing is, when you buy, a regular person buys a pass, it's good for 24 hours from the time that you buy it. In Dallas, for some reason, who knows why, and I've been trying to get this since I moved here 18 years ago, they end at 3 a.m. in the morning. There is nothing running in the city after about 12:30. So why does it end at 3 in the morning instead of 8 or 9 in the morning? If you buy one, let's say at 4 o'clock in the afternoon one day, you should be able to get on the bus and go to work or wherever you're going at 9 o'clock the next morning. It should be 24 hours like it is in other cities. But I don't know where dark gets 3 o'clock in the morning, and I hope they tell me one day.
That's a valid point. I'll ask her.
Why I said this, because I'm going to work, because I have to move out of my boarding home where I'm going to stay, and I have a place in Fort Worth, the UGM. I like it down there. You don't have no curfew. You pay cheap rent, UGM. So I was worried about it because I was going to either, commute from Fort Worth to Dallas with my job. That's why I was very insistent on it, because that way it gives me more broad way, more leverage or more ways to live instead of just Dallas. Now I can live in Fort Worth until that happens. That's why I was so insistent trying to get something out of you.
All right. We have a question in the back.
Yes, 3 o'clock a.m., even if you buy a bus ticket at 12 o'clock at night and you accidentally get an all-day pass, it's still over 2.5 hours from 250 bus pass. So no matter what, you're still getting your you get your worth by it being closed at 3 a.m. I don't know which ones are actually closed at 3 a.m., but either way, it passes 2.5 hours. You understand the pass? Bus driver, which is the daily pass, because if you buy a $5 pass, over 2.5 hours, so therefore.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know how it works out, but that's how it was explained to me.
We know that this is a very important issue because when we did a survey here at this forum a while back, transportation was the number one thing that homeless people said that they needed more than anything else. And so this is a very important issue. I have one question for Cindy, though, since we got her here. And that is the progress on the bus, that the idea that she was going to get a bus to make the stops around the city of the most important agencies that homeless people need to go to. What's the progress on that?
Okay, I've got a couple things I want to talk about, but I'll talk about that. So we're talking about
You come up,
the idea of like the city of Houston. They basically have a bus that circulates to very common places that homeless people need to go. It doesn't say homeless bus on it, it's innocuous, it's a bus, and they contract with a First Transit. And it has a Monday, Wednesday, Friday route, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Tuesday, Thursday route, because there are different places people need to go on different days. So they surround places to eat, to shelters, to the food stamp office, or Texas Health and Services, and different places that folks need to go. So, and they fund it through CDBG, Community Development Block Grant money that goes to the city of Houston. So I've talked about it on several occasions. I did a simple letter for a concept idea to the city of Dallas chair of their Community Development Council. Because I was told that you first have to put the idea in the head of the Community Development Council, who then establishes priorities, and then it moves forward to conceptualizing as they begin to develop what their budget would be for the Community Development Block Grant funding, where they start all that process in December, January, and February. So that's where it is with that particular idea of using that money. So you figure somewhere to $150,000, $175,000 a year, and you all already conceptualize it. So the material that I got from you all on the ideas where to go is captured in that email. So that's where we're at right now with that process, is that I have done that formal, here is an idea that is a best practice in Houston, this is how they fund it, this is our concept as a way, So people, there's a lot of benefits to it, right? That makes sure you take away this pressure of having to figure out is it a $250 or $350, do I need a 2-hour pass, a half-day pass, or to go do that. We've got a good idea of where folks need to go to get the work that they need to get done without having to stand in line and beg for a bus pass, and panhandle for a bus pass, or everything that happens in order to gain critical transportation. So that's where we're at.
And then the last thing I had about my portion of the DART report, moving forward next year, we will have some rules governing how we ride the bus. It has been reported that when some of our neighbors get on the bus, they're not going to an actual destination. They're just there riding the train all day long to, keep warm or get out of the element. That is not the purpose of the pass. It's not a shelter, so to speak. The purpose is so that you can actually transport from place to place. So when you get on the train, just make sure you have a location in mind where you need to get off at. And so DART is very concerned that some of our neighbors are getting on and just riding all day, taking up 2 to 3 seats with our belongings. So let's be mindful of that, because there are other people who need to ride, and if you're taking up 2 or 3 seats, that's, a seat that someone else could have. The other thing that they're concerned about, I don't think there's anyone here that this fits, but if so, there's some concerns with individuals who get on the very first train out of the Green Line in the morning at Fair Park. It's called the sleep train. They want to stop that, so they're taking some actions to stop our neighbors who are getting on that sleep train first thing in the morning. So just beware. If you are one of those individuals who get on there, please don't do that anymore.
I wanted to add something or whatever. I'm concerned about taking the fare box away. I think we need to be really focusing in on that, because if I only got $2.50 and I don't have a smartphone, how am I going to ride the bus if I'm trying to? I'm trying to find out how that's supposed to work. And I guess we'll have to go ahead.
They have that solved in the other cities, like Chicago and New York and stuff. They have different stores like 7-Eleven and stuff, and other places that sell them. And at all the train stations where you get go through to get on, they have a machine there, and you can buy it for the day, the week, the month, or whatever. They actually, when Chicago was in trouble back about 10 years ago, I guess, they had another corporation take it over instead of the CTA, and that's what they did. So, I mean, I'm sure that they know.
They are going to do
about the
something
other cities that
similar.
are doing it, and maybe they'll do that, so there's another place that you could buy those,
Yes.
even if you don't have a smartphone or whatever.
There are places that they've identified where you can go, like 7-Eleven will be one. And like I said, if you don't have a smartphone, you will get a card very similar to your Bridge ID, and then you'll just load it and keep it, on your person, just like you do your other IDs. And so you would just load however much money you want it to load. So you go over to 7-Eleven, load $5 or $2.50, however much you want to load on it, and then when you get on the bus, you can scan it. Yes. Hold on one second.
Card or fob?
Card, C-A-R-D.
I'm a problem solver. I was gonna say the battery will go get, like with the car, will go get a car. But,
Yep.
One of the issues that I would like to bring up is the homeless issue as far as housing. It can be done a lot cheaper. Everybody's complaining about how much money, how many millions it takes. That's a bunch of BS. It don't take millions to solve the homeless problem. It takes one home. You buy one home, fix it up, and use the home equity out of your home to buy 3 more. Use the home equity to buy 9 more and 27 more. It's a domino effect and a positive outlook. And most people don't know how to do it. You go down on Elm Street to the tax assessment office, and you look at the tax assessed properties. You get you a DBA for real estate, you get a DBA for construction. For your construction, is so that you can buy your product in a wholesale line and a contracting line versus the regular price. Instead of $7, it might be $4, or it may be $3.50. You get your EINs from the tax, from the IRS, so that everything that you buy is tax exempt. You can get your day laborers to work for you at a nice rate. You can go ahead and get your property inspected
Right there at Lowe's, they got their names up on the board where you can pay an inspector, $250 to inspect the property to tell you everything wrong with it, and then you can get it appraised. Instead of going to the bank, you go over to Cedar Station and go to Resource One. I did my research, and you can get your appraisal at 80% here in Dallas, Texas. All 1,100 square feet, 3-bedroom house, land by the Lancaster Station, that's probably about 38,000, you get 36,000, I guarantee you about 3 more houses at 2,500, which they was going for over there, all of them boarded up houses that the city can't buy right now because the city's being audited, but the public can buy it. You take 10 people that got a social security check, $735, add it up, they can buy one house. Legally, 6 people can live in a 3-bedroom house and 4 can spend the night, and the next day you go, after you get your money, you go get another one. The rest of the houses, you put them on Section 8. People trying to find houses now, but if you selling this property, who's going to buy it? But if you selling it, people buy it, put it on Section 8. All of the vouchers can be taken up. You can get the homeless off the street, but you have to have people that want to get off the street versus some people who are comfortable with it, who like it. I'm at this corner, I clean up the corner, so I get to sleep there without a ticket, and everybody else gets to come on that one corner and sleep there without getting a ticket, because giving something back to the city, like Kennedy said, not what the country can do for you, what can you do for your country? We didn't like the police.
All right, thank you. We failed to mention that at the end, we will have a no card session where if you have concerns, you can, like similar to his, you can voice those then, but we do like to stay on topic in the essence of time. But thank you for your comment. That's all I have about the DART. I will make sure to send out this announcement to everyone so that everyone can go and advocate for themselves. At this time, oh, I'm sorry, did you have a question? Oh, go ahead.
Are they going to rip out all the automated bus ticket machines?
That's a question that we can ask on December 12th. All right. At this time, we'll have Cindy Crane, who's president and CEO of Metro Dallas Homeless Alliance, to come up. She has a couple of things that we're kicking off that she wants to chat with us about for a little bit.
Okay, thank you guys, and thank you very much for being here today. One of the things I wanted to reference, you brought up the issue of racial disparities. And as a reminder, when we did our continuing care strategic work plan, we adopted as one of our objectives that as a continuum of care over the next year, that we would have a specific focus to address racial disparities in housing and service delivery. And one of the primary ways we were going to do that was making sure that we monitored and looked at all the data. And so I'm about to do an addendum to our quarterly community dashboard where I look at all the performance metrics, and then I'm going to go take that data and then examine it from a racial disparity point of view that also begins to reflect the rates and percentages in that project. The other thing that I wanted to also, and let me pull this up, to make sure that you all remember that the City of Dallas is one of 6 cities that decided to participate in the SPARK project, which stands for Supporting Partnerships for Anti-Racist Communities. Very specifically, in a very thoughtful, research-oriented way, looking into racial disparity or looking at homelessness and services from an equity lens is what they use. And they were in town, you remember, over the summer, and they've looked at our homeless management information system data. They did one-on-one interviews and focus groups at several of the emergency shelters. The draft report is supposed to come out next week. You're looking at San Francisco, Tacoma, Washington, Columbus, Ohio, City of Dallas, and Atlanta, Georgia, and Syracuse, New York, which were the first cities. Their goal was 10 cities, but they've got 7 to commit. And that report will come out, and the final report will come out the end of January. And the Gates Foundation, the Bill Gates, he's the Microsoft guy, that foundation, they had been briefed on some of this work that's going on, and there is a significant interest about the racial disparity of poverty in the United States, and they came forward and put some money. So the leaders from these cities, and there's several representatives coming from Dallas, are going to meet in Seattle February 2nd and 3rd, right after the formal report is published in the United States, and have a comprehensive 2-day dialogue about where do we go from here? How do we impact change? So I wanted to update you on that. So it is an issue that we absolutely are following, tracking, and the city of Dallas is, and our work with the continuum care is acknowledging that and doing that work. Absolutely. Not ignoring it, telling the truth, and looking at the numbers. Another thing I want to talk about that Ricky had played a role in was related to, and it was one of the ideas that came out of this group about sometimes people are afraid to be housed or afraid to do things because of that significant change. And the Boston Healthcare for the Homeless has a consumer advisory board, a CAB they call them. And they put together a tenant resource guide. So when individuals go from living in shelter or living unsheltered and go back into moving into their own apartment, that they are not just, told, they get a lot more information than just about your lease. And then we wanted to develop like a housewarming process where a case manager sits down with you, and we came up with and was developed and been edited a new tenant resource guide. And so I'm not sure when, Rebecca, when that first meeting is, when these are going to be handed out. It's in a week or two, isn't it?
So some of the agencies have already, like as a pilot,
Yeah.
received some.
Okay.
So, and then we're having an email out to all the agencies now asking if we were to continue, how many they would
Got it.
request. So we
Okay.
can order more in advance of it.
So what it means is that when a case manager comes into your house, you're kind of nervous and you're figuring out, where everything is, how to work the stove, how to work the microwave, figuring out where you take your trash and all those new things. That also, a lot of that information is going to be in a book, and there'll be a nicer cover than this on it. And essentially, a new tenant resource guide. And it explains how to use the guide, and it gives you ideas on how to use the library. Tips on how to settle into your new apartment, fun and free things to do around Dallas. It'll have information about voter registration guide, mail change, because a lot of people start out with their mail going to the stew pot. Well, now you have your home. How do you do that mail change? Things about birth certificate and different information. You may have an ID that you need to change to your new address. A lot of information. It'll have some pocket holders in the back for you to put a copy of your lease and in any important documents that you may have related. And it also is going to come with one of these wipe-on boards with a magnet, maybe for your refrigerator or a door. And then your case manager will walk through with you and make sure you have your address. I mean, what if you had a 911? Sometimes you were so used to giving, 1818 Corsicana or Hickory Street to make sure that you have it, or if there's an emergency, you know exactly what unit number, your phone number, emergency contact, the number for the police department, poison control, your landlord's address, the phone number, and some really important things. A place for you to put your rent, when it's due, how it's supposed to be delivered, phone company, cable company, when your bills are due, so that these are regular reminders to help you kind of reorganize and reorient that life so it doesn't seem as intimidating. And so that's going to be something that case managers, when they're ready to transition you, they'll sit down with you in your new home, your new apartment, and this will be a gift to you in a way, just to kind of really make a welcome home and a housewarming opportunity for you to be a part of that. And so that literally is, and that is a product that came from some ideas a long time ago from this group, and now we're putting into play. So any questions about that or ideas or in reference? Yes, ma'am.
We went by MBHA to go pick up some, and no one was there. So is there a specific time that we should be going by? Is there in the
Just email Siobhan and Rebecca, and we'll take care of that. Yeah. So I apologize for that. We had a meeting, and then we had a staff meeting where we closed the door. So I apologize that it might have happened at the same time. Another thing I want to talk about is we're in this world now called coordinated access, coordinated assessment system, and one of the key components of that is something called the housing priority list. And there may be people in this room whose name is listed on the housing priority list. It is literally a central list. Street outreach workers who may work with you, put you in the homeless management information system, do a VI SPDAT, that questionnaire that kind of looks into some of your vulnerabilities and experiences. That documentation of homelessness. Some folks actually have to do an affidavit that says, yes, I lived under this bridge for a couple of months. I lived over here, as we establish eligibility for some of our housing programs. And so we have a centralized housing priority list. Right now there's over 600 people on this list, of which is about 150 are chronically homeless. The list is literally ordered by vulnerability. We have priorities. We say priority 1. priority 2, 3, 4, 5. And the higher the priority are people who've only been homeless just a little bit, don't have a disability, maybe they have a higher income source, so they've got a lot of resources and a lot more strengths and assets to find housing. And then the people at the top of the list, priority 1, 2, 3, 4, are people who are absolutely going to need that permanent supportive housing. They may have zero income, or they only have $737 a month and multiple disabilities. And so agencies who have housing are, when they have an opening, or when a unit is going to turn over, are to go to the list. What the continuum of care is just working on right now, and we have a recommendation from the Coordinated Assessment Task Force that I wanted to discuss with you, is to make sure that people who've been homeless the longest and the most vulnerable are the ones who get housed first with some of our funded programs, because that's the rule. One of the business rules that we are put into place that make sure that people aren't pulling off the bottom of the list, right? You want to make sure, if you've been waiting, some people say, I've been waiting for housing forever, I don't understand why. I want you to understand that how the list is ordered. And we had a meeting yesterday that Siobhan and Rebecca were part of, looked at the top 50 names and started finding that some of them were housed. So we're constantly, this list is updated every Monday. And the people who look at the list are the people with housing, or the people who are in emergency shelters and street outreach because they want to report he's housed, they're housed. I got an email this week that 12 people had been housed from this list. The business rule is we want to make sure that housing providers, generally continuum of care funded housing, have a rule. There's someone at the top of the list. And make sure that person is sitting there for 3 years. We want to say you need to go to the top of the list and show an effort to communicate with that person. Now that person, you're going to be able to see, they're going to look them up in the Homeless Management Information System, see where their last encounter was, or ask the case manager who put them on the list, let's say it's John. Where's John? The rule has to be, how long do I have agencies look for John? Because it's always a challenge as people come up missing and we can't find them. So the recommendation by the task force is that if I'm Ken Mogbo from MetroCare Services and they have a unit open, right, and it's funded from the COC and it's supposed to be for the chronic homeless, so he's looking, he sees John. What efforts does MetroCare Services have to demonstrate before they move to the next person on the list? The recommendation was that there should be at least 3 documented attempts. I emailed the case manager on this list, or I got it. We should get on the phone and call them. And they should make 3 documented attempts to find John within 10 business days. That's 2 weeks before, and then they have to document it. I made these efforts to find John. I went to the stew pot. I called Union Gospel Mission. I looked at the bridge. I asked street outreach if they had seen John. And I document these efforts and said, I tried to find John, couldn't find him. Now I'm going to Sally. She's the next one on the list, right? So my question to you all is, have you ever been part of a Section 8 waiting list or whatever, and then you got a letter in the mail and it said you had to be at a meeting, it's tomorrow? We know that's not a very efficient, snail mail is not a very efficient way oftentimes to find people when your housing opportunity comes up. What I'm asking you all, what are other ways that people experiencing homelessness, because we know sometimes you might go from a shelter to a shelter, or maybe that weekend, the time your name come up, maybe you had a death in the family and you were in Chicago for a week, someone managed to get you there, and we don't want to miss your opportunity. What are other ways that we should put in there that you believe would be beneficial to be able to demonstrate that we did our due diligence to try and find you? Yeah,
I
Claire.
think contact with a lot of the churches that work with the homeless people, like Cornerstone, the Reunion, because all those homeless people show up there, and a lot of times they don't show up anywhere else.
Okay.
So, and most of the pastors that run those places and the groups, volunteers that work, they know the homeless people. So maybe if we put that out to them also, they can help us find them.
So make sure that you get to the faith-based communities that are often not part of the homeless management information system. Okay, I know that my team is an excellent idea. Ricky?
More funding for outreach workers. to go out there and track them down and find them. I do have one question about the top of the list and the bottom of the list. Let's say an agency gets a certain amount of funding, and it has to be used within a certain amount of time. And they say, well, if we go to the top of the list, this is the most difficult people to house. We need to house people now and get people housed now. So we're going to go to the bottom of the list because we know that it's easier to put people in housing. And so now we've used all our funding, and now we can go back and tell HUD we've used all our funding and everything. And you say 3 documents, the guy at the top, 3 documented attempts. I mean, what's the, I don't know exactly how to present my question. I think you get the gist.
First of all, no, I don't want people taken. Part of coordinated assessment is to take those expensive programs that come with wraparound services and 100% of the rent, or where you pay 30% of your income. Those programs cost anywhere from $7,000 to $18,000 a year. And they're meant to help people who, but for that housing, are never going to get out from under the bridge, or never going to be out of the shelter. I don't want, and the HUD has already set the rule, you don't cream. That's the old way. Yeah, of course, the person who shows up every day, I can get you housed tomorrow. You're going to show up to every meeting and do everything, and you probably don't need those intensive services. So that's why we're establishing the rule, and no more creaming. Different types of housing, rapid rehousing, it's just a little bit of rental subsidy, a little bit of case management until you're on your own. People at the top of the list need a lot more intensive care.
So how are you going to police it?
I won't go into all that. But we're having mechanisms to do that. Here would be, I emailed Rebecca Cox and the Street Outreach Task Force. Everyone on that email string said, I'm looking for John. And it probably went to 14 people. And we make sure that we heard, haven't seen him, 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 for everybody. There's your documentation. You got a big email string. There's one attempt, right? So that would be how. So I'll go to you.
One good system that I have discovered, I've always urged everyone who works with me to get an email address. They're free. Okay.
That's an excellent idea. Excellent idea.
When you get a person's email address, you can stay in touch with that person. If you get a person, most people have cell phones, and cell phones are free, but many people don't. When you get the cell phone number,
that's an excellent idea.
There are computer programs that can do that automatically. And the best thing about it is, back in the days when I was doing well, I remember being one day behind on the car payment. One day, and my mother called me from across town, 20 miles away, and she said, "You didn't pay your car payment yesterday."
Okay, because she got the call.
How do you know?
Yeah.
But her name was on the credit application.
Excellent.
So there are so many different ways we need, not only the person, but the emergency contacts.
Sometimes they know.
Where they are.
So,
Okay, really quickly now. I filled out paperwork for over 100 different homeless people who were illiterate. They could not read or write. And that was kind of my job. Go to James, he'll help you fill this out. And so we need to have ways to come contact them. And usually that would be through the emergency contact person.
That's excellent.
Because they aren't going to be people who are able to use email or text messages. So you need to
Excellent.
remember
Yeah,
that.
so what I'm thinking of is, even the first thing you would do is look up John, and if he has any personal cell phone or email, but having the client email on the housing priority list would be, that's really quick. It's an excellent idea. I'm hearing you.
Make sure to tell people when they come into the shelter for any of these programs, get you an email.
Let's establish one, right.
And make sure that you have 2 emergency contacts.
Okay. That's really good for our HMIS training. And Ken?
Can we, and I admit that I don't do DOPS, so people do it, but so it may be in there already. But can we add something that has a list of the common places that the homeless go that in the adoption process you say?
Yes.
Tuesdays at the Steve Park spot. That, those kind of things.
That's
so
right.
That when
Tips.
you can refer to that and say, okay, this is what he was doing 2 months ago. These are the first places to go contact. And
absolutely.
The other piece is kind of back to what Ricky was talking about. If we have a scoring system for whoever receives these funds to house people, and we are reviewed once a year. And so if we can, so I think a good way to get organizations to participate in taking these most difficult people is to give some point.
We do.
Some incentivizing for that.
We do.
Maybe we increase that incentive, and that will
Yeah.
get people, so that
Yeah.
when we're talking about doling out the money next year, if
Yeah.
you're not doing it, then you're not gonna
Yes.
be eligible for the money.
And we've started doing that measure. And the coordinated assessment team in MDHA is developing a housing priority list management clinic. Just say, all right, who should be watching the list? Who should be doing, and best practices and tips, so this is a great idea. So that'll be those tips for how to find folks. These are the top four things you need to do. That's excellent. In the back.
Best way to advocate, you need advocates like an advocate team. The first two got there, so somebody can step up for them like proxy, so that they don't miss that opportunity. And when they actually contact them, people
Yeah.
only best contact you
Yeah.
can get. Notices on paper, they might come to the email,
Yeah.
like you said, if they can't read, email is no good. You need people to people contact. So like an advocate team, network,
That's excellent.
all of them sources. And also people on the street, like you said, street team, you need people on the street that find these people. Or maybe post it somewhere, hey, we're looking for you. This is posted on, hey man, they looking for you, it's posted on.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Yeah.
But they read the posters on buildings, they look at the pictures because they always want to know what's going on.
So we,
You post it and have people actually going around, driving around sometimes, even if it's just their free time, until they run into this person and find them. And also, maybe the police can even help, or if it's not the police, the safety patrol.
yeah, so I know my team is like, I can just see the little engines running on my team figuring out how to do that. So that's excellent, especially to say, when we're interviewing individual, doing that HMIS intake or doing a case management and saying, I'm getting ready to do your documentation priority status, we've got your documentation homeless done. Now, when your name comes up, I want to be able to find you. We need to be very deliberate and intentional on our discussions with folks when we're getting their documentation disability homeless. If your name comes up, we got 10 days to find you. Give me everything. How is the best to find you? And make sure that we record that and that it's clearly in their record so that we make sure that they understand the importance of that contact. Or if anybody, my sister always knows where I am, or my ICE person, or my contact. So those are really excellent ideas that we make sure we incorporate that. And then the person who's trying to get their name on that list fully understands every reason why we're asking for this information, the intent. So those are excellent ideas. Okay, I'll take, one from you and then one more for Claire.
We got a phone by the Stupot, where we got a phone, it was free, but it went out of business a couple years ago, where we got the messages before we got here, okay? Now, I'm just saying, you go to the big boss, man, mayor, whatever, that would be the best way. You get the same thing we had before, you know what I'm talking about, right, Shalom? And that way, everyone have a phone number, and just call in and check all the messages. And that's the best way, but I'm sure it doesn't cost a lot to do it again. I don't know what happened to it, but it went out 3 years ago, 3 years ago, and ever since then, there's no way to contact people. That's the best way right now to do it, and please, get the mayor on it, because I have a problem with the mayor being a homeless czar for 5 years, then the mayor for 6 years, and he said homeless is supposed to be number one priority. Why do you think Dallas is a big mess because of the mayor? What has he done? Really, But I'm just saying, Cindy, that something needs to be done. I know, 10 seconds, but the mayor is totally responsible for this big mess. He doesn't know anything.
Well, that's
I'm just saying, but
we're talking about, give me ideas of how I can connect housing with homeless when they're waiting.
the phones.
Got it. Got phone?
One good way,
Yeah.
and I've done some journalism, so we used this board at the county courthouse to see if certain people were indicted on certain days. And you know what? You could have a kiosk, an electric kiosk. You could sit there and key in.
Housing alert.
If you have an electric kiosk, now this is going to cost you money, outside of weatherproof, outside of places like the bridge, or outside of places like the Stupot, right there, where they can come up on a daily basis, and they can say, has my name come up? There it is. My name appeared today. I need to contact so-and-so today. They don't need a phone. You don't need the emergency contact, but they see that their name is up to do something.
And
they need to contact someone.
The challenge there is we have a lot of security and privacy agreement, right? Put somebody's name on something. So, but I hear what you're saying, like how our calling has those new screens when it's your turn to come up for a shower. We need a simple comprehensive housing alert system. See, we're looking for these 4 people. Now, my people, HMIS case managers, I could just put a number up there and they would know what it means. It could be your HMIS number. I could know instantly, right? But right now, you know, you're giving us a lot of creative ideas. Let's take these 2 questions in the back, or Claire, do you have another specific idea?
I learned about 6 years ago with one of my chronic homeless people who ends up in Baylor about 18 times a year, that if I went with her and put my name on her medical records and also went with her to the Social Security office, because you have to sign a special form, so that somebody can contact you. So I think that's a good thing for case managers to do. Ask your client if you could have your name, so if, you know, they end up in the hospital or they're somewhere or nobody can find them, that might be where you can find them, in some kind of health facility or nursing home. Sometimes people get picked up by crisis intervention and then they take them straight to a nursing home and nobody knows where they are.
Oh, that's a really good point. Okay, you sir, there in the jacket, I don't have my glasses, in the blue, and then we'll get to you. They'll be our last 2. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So what's going to happen is when I'm released from the program, which my discharge date was made, I have no home to go to, I have the ability to pay. I work at 6 weeks, interview for the same job. But I'm also, there's probably, at Salvation on the TTC where I'm at, there's probably 20 other individuals with the exact same issue I have.
Yeah.
We have no place to go.
Yeah.
We have the funds and no funds.
Okay. What's exciting is the Salvation Army, and I'm familiar with that program. That is still technically considered under the federal rule of homelessness. So you're getting an eligibility criteria, and they just started using the HMIS system and started adopting people. So we'll have a dialogue because you're looking for very specific second chance housing, right? And you've got an ability to pay. And we have added to our team, we got 2 people who are doing a lot of work, James and Cynthia, in relationship to finding landlords, and specifically looking at sometimes the secondary market where you don't have all those intense tenant screening issues. And we've also let the emergency shelters know, but another service that we have is sometimes people don't really know what the potential landlord pulls when they pull a screening report. And so we're able to do that with the client's consent, where they could actually sit down and like pull your report so you can go, you and I as your case manager, I'm trying to do housing search and placement, give me permission to pull the report. We pull the report and I sit down with you and we sit down and go, okay, now we understand our challenges and let's figure out how my housing team can work with the landlord who we've already developed a relationship that they say, all right, we already know the background, all right, but this is some of the set of stuff we're going to bring with you so that they're willing to reduce those barriers and work with you and say, we fully know what's going on here and we've discussed it with you to figure out how we can advocate for you when we sit down and negotiate with the landlord to get past those barriers. That's another thing that we're working on. But we will have this dialogue when we work with Blake to understand how we can help that. That's like working it towards the bottom. But that's okay. We have some housing that's better designed for folks like that. In other words, what you need is first and last month's rents and that deposit. And then once you're going, right, then you're cooking with gas and I can make that second month's rent. I just need that lift. And we have some special programs that could help with that. And so I'm glad you said that, but we'll work on that because if you're priority 11 or 12 on the bottom, you're not going to get COC funded housing, but we got other mechanisms to try and get you housing. So this will be our last comment on this so we can go on with the program. Yes, sir.
The first thing he said was about the kiosk machine. He said it would cost, it could be a regular computer behind that bulletproof glass. You can get it all donated to the city instead of having to pay for it. Don't worry about it. And just use Wi-Fi right off the system that you're using automatically. So it's automatically it's free. It's right there on the front of the facility. So those who can't gain interest, they can access it on the outside.
Absolutely. Yeah. It could just simply be a private web page that only shelters have a link to, and it's got, here's the 5 HMIS number clients that we're looking for. As simple as that. So the stew pot desk knows, UGM intake knows, the bridge intake knows, and just everybody, and do it one page. So you're giving me so many great ideas that are no cost. Oh, what your second idea? Go ahead, sir.
Two more things I wanted to say.
Mm-hmm.
As far as him saying about his housing, I'm recently released from the feds too, like
Mhm.
a lot of criminals. But it doesn't matter when people see crime, especially federal,
Mhm.
they really don't want you around. I never dealt with drugs, don't smoke, don't drink, none of that. But they still don't want you around. So my idea with the housing, he could get a grant where he can get his own house, fix it up, and live in a house instead of worrying about whether the homeowner association want him in his neighborhood. That is shut down. That whole neighborhood is shut down,
Mhm.
boarded up. A lot of people ain't living. And it can be fixed up. You can gentrify the neighborhood, beautify the neighborhood, change it, bring in everybody else. But he needs housing. That's another issue. And then we had the issue with the priority housing and stuff. I was listening. I'm not going to mention the name because I know somebody in particular, but there are some people who don't want to live in the neighborhood y'all put them in. Those
I know,
houses
yeah.
are dead weight because they sitting there and ain't nobody in them, and they had that place.
Mhm.
I don't care about living in the hood. I grew up in the hood. I need a place to live. I sleep on the corner.
Yeah.
It's cold out there. And I can make do anywhere, and I know how to change. I'm a social engineer. I know how to change whole neighborhoods.
Yeah, that's awesome.
People to change the neighborhood.
Good. Okay, thank you for giving me this opportunity and get ideas. It makes better policy, and the moment, what did our speaker this week, the more I know, the better I do. And so you all gave me some excellent input, excellent ideas. I appreciate that. And we will make sure that we incorporate these ideas into our plan. Thank you.
It's a rare occasion that we get a chance to see Cindy because she's so busy out trying to get stuff for our clients, and she took an opportunity to take off her busy schedule and come in and talk to us, and we appreciate that. And Cindy, feel free to drop in anytime you get a chance. We're glad to see you. And because Cindy and I, we were together in Washington, D.C. this past summer. And Cindy represents everywhere she goes. And she says, as I was saying, she's on the way out the door. Now, there was a gentleman in the back right there, and he had a concern. I wanted to hear the body to hear it. Sir, could you stand up and tell us what your issue was? Talking to you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Got to speak a little louder so we can hear you.
All these guys that are in these programs, these state programs mandated by parole and or probation, and they're being moved to cities where they're not from.
Okay.
They have no family, no anybody to help.
Okay.
And they're literally being put out on the street since the program ends.
Okay.
With no avenue, no help, no anything.
Okay.
Because of their history.
Okay.
And I personally was downstairs on Cranch listening for housing and everything else.
Okay.
Decided to see if I could find out some kind of resource or availability, anyone who knows of any housing, et cetera, et cetera.
Now-
And I'd be the correct forum for it, but this is the issue. There's a lot of these guys that end up relapsing and going back to drugs because they're put in these situations and there's nothing they can do about it. So they revert back to the level of behavior they have, because that's the only way they know to relieve the stress of the work and everything else. And I personally, I've got 18 months clean and sober, and I'm very proud of that, and I don't want to waste it.
Right.
So that's what I stick here for, and I appreciate you.
Now, can I, before you sit down, now you were telling me something about you were employed. Could you give me a little more?
Yes, it is a requirement for the program I'm in that you have to have an employment.
So you're saying you have a job?
And yes, I've had a job for 6 weeks, and I'm actually interviewing, well, I interviewed yesterday, I'm going to take my physical in UA for a second job that
Okay.
actually pays decent wages.
Okay.
See, a lot of these guys at the center, they're restricted to certain jobs because of the hours we're allowed out on pass. And the jobs that actually deal with these guys' hours and the fact that we have to take off 1 day a week for static group, and this hours for that group, et cetera, the jobs are not very good.
Mhm.
They're really low paid.
Okay.
And the guys are taking advantage, guys and girls, I would say, they're taking advantage of, so there's no way to save any money. You have a job that costs you just as much to work there as it does that you're making. when you consider transportation, $5 a day with the bus, et cetera, et cetera. But most of these people like myself, I got burned, I put a deposit on the house, in the road, a rental house. Everything was said, everything was ready. Then when it come time for my discharge 2 weeks ago, the landlord didn't put it in. So I lost my deposit, that was my savings. So here I am, my discharge papers are made in red. And I can't leave the program because I don't have a verified.
Oh, okay.
So at the end of the 90 days of the completion of the program, I'm going to be forced to go upstairs to my system. For myself, it's really, it is an issue, but it's not. Because I feel like I'm working and I have the ability. So I shouldn't be forced to do this.
Okay.
You know, and I actually stayed up there a couple of days before I went in for it. And it's not that bad. It's not pleasant.
Okay.
It's not the environment that I need to be in, being professional. But this is where these guys and girls are being forced because they don't have to get that. No one will hear them because of our records and our history.
Okay, now were you gonna say something?
Well, I was just going to comment that one option, I know this is something that a lot of people don't like to hear, but it's a group home. They're affordable rents. I know some group homes have no tolerance policy, which means that they will not tolerate a relapse. It's affordable. And it's maybe not the place you want to go, but it's a stepping stone. You go there and then work your way up from there. And then you get you away from the environment that you were in into a good, clean environment. Finding a good one is really difficult, but it can be done.
Talk about like an auction house.
Well, they're all over the city. There's more than 300 in the Metroplex area. Some are good and some are not so good. But if you can find a good one, and I know it's not your own place, but it is affordable. And so eventually you want to get your own place. But in the meantime, you don't want to be in other place, out there on the street and whatnot. So.
All right. This gentleman in the back.
Another suggestion. When I was in the halfway house, I went through some of the things. I hadn't even started work. And I was kicked out of the halfway house because we couldn't find pants in my size. And I had to go on a work interview for a job. And I ended up writing people up after I followed the chain of command, and then I wrote to the head of the Volunteers of America at 800 West Running Green, the Hutchins halfway house. And they violated me. And when Judge Barbara M.G. Lane, who was my judge and now the chief judge, found out, and I was going to Abraham Johnson when he said wouldn't do nothing, she sent the fact back, said put my complaints on the front and everybody at the halfway house complaints on the back. I went there and May the 24th, I was sent to the jail. January the 23rd, I was sent to the jail. May the 24th, I came out, I was homeless. And I found out 2 days later, she had fired all of those people that were there. So she did do something. And it benefited everybody. But what I found out was the homeless people actually started telling me what I should do, what I need to do, because you have some people that are willing to help you. And one of the suggestions I want to make to them, believe it or not, is the bridge. No matter what people say, the bridge helps people. And it's some of the people there, they'll lie to you, oh, you're going to be in the bridge for 7 to 10 years. Those are the people who continuously, every time they get paid, they're going to go get high and smoke up $735. When I tell them, hey man, you get a place to stay, you got money for this and that, you can go get your own place. But at the same time, the bridge helps you. The program doesn't take 7 and 6 years long. It's a matter of months. If you follow everything the way you're supposed to, you can make it out there and you can get your own place. The reason why I chose not to be there is because of certain people in there. It ain't the staff. Because see, I also deduce things by asking questions in context clues. I said, well, how's the staff? Oh man, he been saying like this ever since such and such.
So in a nutshell, you telling the gentleman he needs to go to the bridge.
Try the bridge.
Okay.
They work with people with drug issues, people that have been locked up before, all kinds of things. They will help
Okay.
you if you willing to accept their help. And don't listen to what the people that's in there tell you.
Okay.
Listen to the staff because the staff make the rules. Those people are rule breakers. They don't want to follow. They want to be trash talkers and everything.
Okay, we need to move on. Next.
Okay, really quickly, when I became homeless, my ex-neighbor worked at Parkland Hospital, she took me to Salvation Army.
Uh-huh.
And there is absolutely no communication, it's not poor, there's no communication that there are housing options available that you can begin to sign up for.
Now, are you telling him that he needs to do that or what?
Well, there's no road map to homelessness. One of the best things he's doing is being here right now. But
Okay.
people don't walk up to you the day you become homeless and say, well, what you need to do right now is to begin to look for a new home.
Okay, I'm trying to stay focused. I'm trying to stay focused on what he's saying. What can help him in his particular situation?
Help him specifically is he needs to right now get on everybody's list. You need to go to City Square, you need to go to the bridge. If you're over 45, you can go to the counseling at Austin Street. If you're under 45, make sure you hit the bridge, hit Salvation Army, go everywhere and begin to get these contacts and know everything about looking for housing, because you will find it, but you must be consistent.
Okay, now that list that I just gave you, that is the list that MDHA passes out to show all the agencies that they work with the housing. Okay, Claire, go ahead.
Another good thing he can do is he could post his needs on Craigslist, state the fact that you're available.
We limited on time.
And people will begin to call you, really will. Just come to it, just right up front. You get a room somewhere, it might not be the best place in the world, but I'll tell you, you'll end up with $400 a month room just like that.
Okay, now Claire, and then I got to go to Siobhan.
And I hope everybody in this room knows, if you are a case manager or a friend or a family member, if you have someone who goes to jail, this city has one person who works, comes in every morning at the jail and looks at the list. If there's somebody homeless on there, they're supposed to be contacted, and they're supposed to be in the jail diversion program, which means they will get housing when they come out of jail, because we don't want people coming out of jail being homeless, because then they'll just get in more trouble and go back to jail. It's called jail diversion. It's run by the city and the county, and there is someone there looking at a list every morning to see which homeless people are in jail. So tell your family and your friends and your case managers, if you're in jail, to make sure that the person knows to ask for themselves, but also their friends or their family or their case managers can contact the jail and find out and make sure they're on that list.
Okay, Siobhan, I'm trying to
so we
hold
are-
the spot for you.
We are right at the 12 o'clock hour, and Suzanne has informed me that there's another meeting in here today, so we gotta shut it down at 12. But I had a couple of announcements. All right, I had a couple of announcements that I wanted to announce. On Monday, Dallas Housing Authority will open a wait list for Housing Choice Voucher and Project Base. You have to apply online. So I've written down the website on the back of my business card. So if you want to come up and see me on your way out, I'll gladly give you a card. It'll be open for a few days only, is what the announcement says. The upcoming opportunity to apply will remain open indefinitely and until further notice. So here's that's Monday. So you have to apply online. So you want to make sure that you come to the library or somewhere and apply for that. I hate that Robert is gone. Earlier he mentioned about the community voicemail that the Stew Pot used to have. So while I was sitting there, I did a little research, and I found that you can get a Google Voice account, which allows you to have a phone number where you can receive those messages. So I encourage you to do a little bit more research, because I didn't have time to look, all the way through it. But just look up Google Voice and create you get a phone number there. There are no available numbers in Dallas, so you'll have to select another city in Texas. But at least you will have a phone number where you can receive voicemails. Okay, that's Google Voice. And then the last thing I wanted to announce, the Salvation Army extended the stay in their emergency shelter program from 30 days to 90 days. So if you do know someone who is new to homelessness, they can go to the Salvation Army, and now there's a 90-day stay instead of 30 days. All right, so that's it for me. Does anybody else have any announcements?
I want to say something to this gentleman here who doesn't have the phone. If you need to get a new food stamp card, you have to call an 800 number. So I suggest you go to the food stamp office, tell them you need another card, then they have the phone, the number, and everything there, and then you can get the process started, because you have to have that food stamp account number. You get your case number in order to qualify for the phone that you get associated with your food stamps. So you need to go to the food stamp office.
All right.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
This is William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please leave comments below, or like, follow, or subscribe to us and get notices of all our videos. We love it, even when you call.